new topic for lesson number 4. Our lesson number 4 is the engineers, the artists. Now, why did I put that the engineers are the artists? Because why did I put that the engineers are the artists? Before, the engineers are not actually regarded as scientists or people related to science, pero sila ay kinikilala bilang mga artists. What you can see in the picture or in the slide right now are infrastructures. Infrastructures of what country or what empire, no? So if you're going to see at the right side, this is the Tower of Pisa. This one is the Colosseum. And this one is the entire ancient Rome. So today we're going to discuss about the engineers, but mostly the most known engineers would be the Romans. Now, why is that? The great builders. There are many great builders in the history of humankind. Their strong infrastructure serves as a portal for modern world to have a glimpse of their lives in the past. Totoo naman, ang mga makalumang infrastructures ng mga ancient civilization ay nagsisilbing portal natin o nagsisilbing pantayog natin kung paano natin titingnan o iisipin ang pamumuhay ng mga tao noon. Actually, there is a certain level of sophistication in their living based on their infrastructures. The first people that we will be overviewing will be the Egyptians. The Egyptians were great builders. They created measurement mathematics for construction purposes. They invented the cubic system and used it to build the pyramids of Egypt. The Egyptians are very well known with their construction of the Pyramid of Egypt. And the Egyptians are also known to be one of the first civilizations. Bakit? Ang Egyptian civilization ay tinatag sa tabi ng Nile River. The Nile River, the soil near the Nile River are very fertile. And Egypt survived, diba, or flourished for few thousands of years. And then they also created the pyramids. Ang Pyramid of Egypt, kung titingnan niyo, akala niyo ano lang yan, pyramid, no? Square pyramidal. But actually, the Egyptians initiated or started the measurement mathematics. Sila ang kauna-unahang sibilisasyon na gumamit ng cubic system. They have their own measurements. That's why the Pyramid of Egypt is almost perfect. If not perfect, square pyramidal. At ang loob nito, hindi ito basta-bastang pyramid. Actually, tatanungin ko if I may ask, no, paano nagkakaroon ng ilaw sa loob ng pyramid? Ano bang purpose nito? Of course, pyramids are created as tombs for the pharaohs. But apart from that, the pyramids have a very sophisticated engineering inside. Alam nyo ba na ang pyramid, nagkakaroon niya ng ilaw sa gabi, of course, dahil sa mga torch, may apoy, no? Pangalawa, nagkakaroon niya ng ilaw dahil sa araw. Paano nakakapasok ang ilaw ng araw? They have certain computation. Sa bawat corner ng Pyramid of Egypt, may butas na pwedeng pasukan. At yung butas na pwedeng pasukan ng liwanag ay nagdadirect papunta sa isang mirror. Tapos papuntas pa sa isang mirror. So they use the concept of reflection of light in order to light the inside of the Pyramid of Egypt. In fact, isa ang Pyramid of Egypt sa pinapagbasihan ng ibang architects and engineers in making a green architectural infrastructure para hindi na kailangan ng kuryente. Next is the Babylonians. The Babylonians are also very powerful civilization. Babylonians were great builders and architects as they built the Hanging Garden of Babylon during the time of Nebuchadnezzar. as a testament of power. When they created the Hanging Garden, it was so beautiful. It's the most beautiful place during that time, according to some accounts. No, but then again, the Babylonians also failed. But actually, the architects and engineers of Babylon are somehow said to be not entirely Babylon. Since ang Babylonian Empire ay nagkalat, may mga nasakop sila, halimbawa mga Jews, mga Hebrew, nasakop nila. Yung mga Hebrew ang naging slave nila. Ganun din sa mga Egyptians. No? Hebrews became their slaves and eventually became their builders as well. And other races as well. The next one is the Mesoamericans, were also great builders of temples and houses, like the concrete construction of the city of Machu Picchu in Peru. This is not Machu Picchu, no. Sorry, it's not Machu Picchu, but that's as step pyramids also by the Mesoamerican civilizations. We will be discussing further about the Mesoamerican ancient civilization later on, but not on the chapter of the great builders, of the engineers. They also have a very good sophistication when it comes to engineering kasi they're able to create those kinds of infrastructures. Hindi lang yan isang step pyramid, kundi multiple step pyramids. No, so apart from what I mentioned Egyptian civilization, Mesoamerican civilization, and Babylonian civilization. There are a lot of engineering, a lot of ancient civilizations na nagpapakita ng kagalingan nila when it comes to engineering. Like here in Southeast Asia, we have Bangkok, Thailand, we have Indonesia, we also have Cambodia and Vietnam, the Hanois. No, so they're also great builders. But today I will only be highlighting the contributions of the Romans when it comes to engineering, because compared to all of these, the Roman civilization has contributed massively when it comes to engineering and architecture. There were many builders in the world, but a certain civilization invested their strength in technology and building rather than reasoning and natural philosophy. And that is the Romans. So instead of, di ba, ang Greeks and other philosophers, they try to question the hows and the whys. But the great builders, the engineers, do not need to answer the question why and how. They just want to build. They just invested in technology that is something practical. The Roman builders ended the Romans ended the flourishing growth of reasoning of the ancient Greece as they conquered the state at around 146 BCE. The Romans were great builders. They built many and strong monumental buildings, roads, bridges, arches, and most famous dams, which stand still today. They engineered a lot of infrastructures that were useful for the state, like the aqueducts that is useful to carry tons of water to quench the thirst of the people of the state and used for farming. So we will be discussing deeper about the contribution of the Romans when it comes to engineering. But of course, we already highlighted that it is their infrastructure on building roads, bridges, arches, and domes. Romans sought of knowledge did not rely on reasoning like the Greeks. They did not ask the questions, where are we? What is matter? Or when are we? Instead, they focus on the question, how to apply the knowledge. Unlike the Greeks, ang mga Greeks kasi nagtatanong yan, saan tayo ngayon? Diba? If you remember our discussions on the natural philosophers, they ask, where are we? How are we? What's the state of the universe? What's the state of the world? Diyan din pumasok ang idealism, diyan din pumasok ang iba't ibang philosophies when it comes to chaos and idealistic philosophies. But the Romans did not bother on asking those questions because they are very particular on answering a specific question. And that is how to apply the knowledge. Because Romans are basically practical. The Greeks' collection of knowledge obtained by the state on geometry, physics, astronomy, and even other disciplines contributed by the great natural philosophers that spread in the Hellenistic world were mostly adapted by Romans. Okay, of course, when Romans defeated Greeks or ended the flourishing civilization of Greece, hindi naman nila talaga pinatay ang sibilisasyon ng mga Grego. Dahil nagandahan din sila sa mga paniniwala, sa kultura at karunungan na meron ang mga Griego, ang ginawa nila, tinanggap nila ito at niyakap nila. They adapted it. That's why if you're going to visit their deities, ang mga mythology sa Romans at saka Greek mythology, laging merong counterpart ang Greek tsaka Romans. Diba? Laging may counterpart yung mga gods and goddesses nila if you're going to review your literatures. Aristotle sought knowledge and classified it into two forms. Is it useful or is the knowledge theoretical? Ngayon, i-highlight ko sa inyo ang sinabi ni Aristotle na meron pong dalawang uri o dalawang classification ng knowledge. And that is the useful knowledge, that is the practical, and the theoretical knowledge or the reasoning. Okay, isettle natin ngayon pa lang. Ang theoretical, mostly done by the Romans or ang theoretical ay mostly done by the Greeks because they do reasoning. Ang useful knowledge ay ginagawa ng mga Romans because they use knowledge practically. Again, kapag sinabing useful knowledge, that's practical. Kapag theoretical knowledge, reasoning or logic. Ayan. Ito yung dalawang yon. Two forms of knowledge. Take note of these terms, techne and episteme. Techne, the root word of technology. In the historical times, the word techne is associated with the arts, the art of craftsmanship. This also meant that the practical knowledge can be learned by doing and relate to the practical world. What is techne? Techne is the practical knowledge or the useful knowledge. Okay? Kagaya na nabanggit dito, historically, techne or technology is associated with the arts and craftsmanship. Builders, the great builders, mga gumagawa ng mga malalaking building, ships, catapults, they are called techne. No? Now, the second form, I won't say that there's a first or second, but these are the classifications. The techne is the practical knowledge or the useful knowledge, and the episteme, the reasoning or the logic. The root word of epistemology is considered as the study of knowledge. This form of knowledge is mostly associated to science, but science is abstract. Hence, episteme requires logic and reasoning. I hope settled tayo no dun sa two forms of knowledge, techne and episteme. Now, I have here again a lesson spotlight showing how natural philosophers and Mediterranean builders or techne views knowledge. Ito yon. A natural philosopher, episteme. Ang mga Mediterranean engineers, techne. Okay. The natural philosopher asked Mediterranean builder. So ito si natural philosopher, ito si Mediterranean engineer or builder. Sinabi niya, how does the sun rise? Paano sumisikat ang araw? Ang earth ba ang umiikat sa araw? O ang araw ang umiikot sa earth? Yun ang tanong ni natural philosopher because they ask the question how and why. Pero ang sagot ni Mediterranean builder, I don't know. The important thing is there is sun to give light. Do you follow? Si natural philosopher, paano sumisikat ang araw? Para kay engineer or kay builder, hindi mahalaga kung paano sumisikat ang araw. Ang mahalaga, sumisikat ang araw. Next question by the natural philosopher. How does it rain? Paano umuulan? Diba? Ngayon, masasagot na natin yan. Before, it took them a while in order to answer this. The natural philosophers asked, how does it rain? Paano mo umuulan? Saan nanggagaling yung tubig galing langit? That's their question. Ang sagot naman ni engineer o ni Mediterranean builder, I don't know. The important thing is, there is rain to water the plants. Ang mahalaga, may ulan para bigyan ng tubig ang mga halaman. Last question. What is that? Pointing at his art. Tinuro ni natural philosopher ang art ni Mediterranean builder. Okay. Sabi naman ni Mediterranean builder, oh, it's a ship. I made an order from the Roman counselor number 2. He ordered 300 of those. Okay. So meron daw in order na 300 na barko itong isang Roman counselor. Yeah. Practical siya. Practical. So do you see, nakasabay ba kayo kung paano magtanong ang isang natural philosopher at kung paano sagutin ng isang Mediterranean builder? Kasi ang Mediterranean builder, they don't seek reasoning or logic. Instead, they seek practicality. Oh, eto naman, tingnan natin, basahin natin kung gaano kahalaga ang engineering nung sinaunang panahon o nung panahon ng mga Romans. Lesson spotlight, 2 politicians talking about their power in the ancient world. Roman counselor number 1. How many ships do you have? I have 123 ships. Sabi ni Roman counselor number 2. Ha! I have 100 ships on the deck. Ang sabi naman ni Roman counselor 1. Ha! I have more ships than you have. Plus, I have 100 catapults. I can crush you if I'd want to. I have 200 ships set on sail to conquer a city. Thus, I have 300 ships and I have 200 catapults. Crush. We'll see. At this moment, it was at this moment he knew he's messing with the wrong guy. Okay, what's the importance of this conversation that I mentioned? Kahit sa sinaunang panahon pa lamang, napakahalaga na ng technology. Ships and catapults. Anong nire-represent ng ships and catapults? Yabangan ito ng mga counselors ng Roman Empire. Because the more ships you have, the more catapults you have, the more powerful you are. Hanggang sa kasalukuyan din naman, ang catapults, ang catapults at saka ships dati, ngayon military power natin ngayon. Kung sino yung mas malakas na may mas malakas na military power, mas malakas sila. 'Di ba? Pero anong nasa likod ng military power? It's technology. Yung mga ginawang barko, ginawang catapults dati, yung mga ginawang barko, mga kanyon, mga bomba ngayon, yun yung counterpart. So therefore, the strength of a state is also dependent on the strength of the technology. Ang lakas ng isang bansa ay nakadepende din sa lakas ng kanyang technology. Makikita natin ito kahit sa sinaunang panahon pa lang. Na hanggang ngayon, nakikita natin. Okay? The Greco-Roman politicians were also like most of the heads of state today. They invested on technology and engineering to build big and strong weapons. For the Greco-Roman Empire, the catapults and ships are proof of power. In the ancient Mediterranean times, the people that build those war machines are called architectons or architects. Okay. So, nabanggit ko kanina that the ancient world and the present time when it comes to engineering and technology is the same. That strength of technology also represents the strength of the state. And war machines that is created before is created by what we call architectons or architects. The architectons and architects are almost or are the engineers of the ancient times. So pag sinabing architecton ka or architect ka, you are a builder, you are an engineer. Actually, until today, di ba, you can always see the pairing of an engineer and an architect when it comes to civil engineering. But today, we have a lot of forms of engineering. The most famous architect is called, his name is very famous, Archimedes of Syracuse. Archimedes is the most known during this time. Um, since the architects and engineers were mostly craftsmen or artists, they didn't have much of written document to take account. But there were famous architectons during this time. The most famous is Archimedes of Syracuse. Since architects, ang mga natural philosophers kasi mahilig yan magsulat, mag-scribble ng kanilang mga nasa isip, ng mga malilikot nilang nasa kaisipan. They write, they write, they write, they write. But the architectons, they do not write, they draw. They illustrate their thought. Kung ano yung naiisip nilang buuin, ayun yun, dinodrawing nila. Pero ang maganda, yung iba kasi gumagawa lang. Ilan lang yung nagsusulat nung ginagawa nila o nagdo-drawing ng ginagawa nila. Ang pinakakilala during this time ay si Archimedes. Si Archimedes ay makikilala natin as a great mathematician. He also worked on geometrical proofs like areas of the circle, infinitesimals, and exponents. He used his intellect to help the Greeks fight the Romans by inventing a lot of war machines. During the time before of the complete siege of the Romans towards the Greeks, of course, syempre, di ba, ginamit pa rin ni Archimedes yung kanyang karunungan at kaalaman upang labanan ang mga Romans. By the way, I was not able to mention kanina, bakit Greco-Romans pala ito? Bakit Greco-Romans? Since the Romans have already attacked the Greek, but they did not destroy the entire civilization, they adapted some of it. Kaya sila naging Greco-Romans. So, during the Hellenistic time, or the Mediterranean time, Romans are referred as the Roman Empire, but also as the Greco-Roman Empire. Well, let's go back to Archimedes. So Archimedes is not only smart, he is also very patriotic because he used his knowledge on mathematics and technology in order to defend his state or his country. Archimedes invented this, itong nasa figure na nakikita ninyo, yung water screw at compound pulley. Okay. Archimedes is not only a mathematical genius, but also a great craftsman who invented many machines apart from war machines he invented to fight the Romans. He also made contraptions like water screw and compound pulley, which was useful by the civilization at that time to pull up water. Okay. Madaming civilization ang namamatay dahil nawawalan ng tubig o dahil sa kakulangan ng tubig. But the strength of several civilizations, which was adapted or stolen from Archimedes, is his invention for water contraptions. So nagawa niya ng paraan kung paano iaangat ang tubig. No? So isa siya sa mga dahilan kung bakit his concept on water contraptions and water screw, no, and compound pulley is the foundation kung paano tayo nagkakaroon ng tubig ngayon sa mga gripo natin because during that time it's very difficult to no to bring water upwards. Bubuhatin mo pa. But Archimedes was able to deal with this. At nagamit ito ng mga mamamayan. Yun naman talaga yung purpose ng technology, diba? The purpose of technology is to help the people do several functions in a simpler, easier way. One of the reasons why Archimedes is still recognized today was because he took accounts of his works. Influenced by his interest in the natural philosophy, he also attempted to explain how his machines work. Okay, what's the difference of Archimedes to other architectons or other engineers during that time? Now, the engineers during that time or the architectons during that time, they just plan, gagawa lang sila ng blueprint ng gagawin nila and they build it. Okay? They build it. But Archimedes, he plans, pagkatapos niyang iplano, i-drawing yung kanyang plano, he will try to explain or answer the what do you call this? The explanation on that invention. Na ganun naman talaga yung ginagawa ng mga engineers natin ngayon. Why is he doing this? Bakit niya pa sinusubukang isagutin yung mga tanong? No? He is doing this because still he is a he is a Greek influenced by natural philosophy. Since he is influenced by natural philosophy and by the issues against the Greeks, Romans, when they are attacking the Greeks, no, nagsama siya. Parang nagsama ang pagiging kailangan niyang protektahan yung kanyang city using practical knowledge and theoretical knowledge by nature because he is a Greek. Diba? So, yeah, that's his difference compared to other architectons or engineers is that he writes his works. He put it into account. So mahalaga po ang taking notes, mahalaga ang pagsusulat. Kaya din, siya yung masasabi nating pinakakilala kasi meron tayong nababasang gawa niya. Yung iba, hindi natin alam kung ano talaga yung naging contributions nila. Kung meron man, hindi natin alam kung sino-sino itong mga to. Okay? Making of weapons or engineering during their time was not a matter of attempting to understand the hydrodynamics or even knowing the chemical properties of the materials that will be used in the art making. As you can see in the picture, those at the left side is the ships, and then the other one are catapults. These are both engineered. These are both products of engineering and architectons. Now, my question is, did they have to understand the chemical properties? Did they have to understand the hydrodynamics on how to make these boat float? Diba? The important thing is these ships float. Diba? Yun lang yung nasa isip nila because woods definitely float. It's not a matter of attempting to understand, but it's a matter of attempting to use that knowledge in a practical manner. Practical yung gamit niya. Kaya kinailangan nilang gumawa ng ships at ng catapults kasi nasa kalagitnaan sila ng gera. Do you follow? I mean, I hope you guys are getting what I said. If you understand, please type 1 at the comment section. Type 1 at the comment section. Making of weapons or engineering during their times was not a matter of attempting to understand. It's a matter of practicality na kailangan nilang gumawa ng ganito panlaban. Unlike to the engineering today, that you have to understand the chemical properties of the material for it to be used in engineering. What are better materials now to be used in semiconductors? Is it still silicon? Ano na yung pwede natin gamitin as alternative for silicon na mas mura, mas available, at mas maganda ang performance? Iyon na yung hinahanap ng mga engineers ngayon. Pero dati, hindi yun ang hinahanap ng engineers. because there are no word engineer during that time. They're called architectons. No, these architectons or the ancient engineers build these stuffs, build these big things for war or for practicality. Ayan. Today, the practice of construction is mixing cement, sand, and adding water to build concrete buildings. But this practice goes back in 150 BCE as the Roman engineers began mixing ash, rocks, water, and lime to build the Roman concretes. This also known as the opus cementatum. This is the method of cement making. So tayo, di ba ngayon, gumagawa tayo ng may mga nakita natin sa mga constructions natin, yung mga construction workers natin, or even tayo, na-try natin siguro maghalo ng semento, buhangin, tubig. No? But, to be honest, the concretes that we are making today are far weaker than the concretes they made before. The materials are durable and could be poured and shaped in different forms, the opus cementatum. This technology was used to form domes, yung mga dome. It's also used in the creation of Pantheon in Rome, covered by 143-foot diameter of dome of concrete that stood until today. Okay? So the domes that they created during the 150 BCE still stands today. More than 2,000 years nandyan pa rin, buo pa rin yung ginawa nila. How did these engineers do this? How did these architectons do this? It's a big question to ask. No? Samantala ngayon, pag nagpagawa ka ng bahay, minsan abutin na ng 50 years sila na. But them, their technology during the ancient times was really, really strong. The Romans also found out that the arches are strong support for the weight rather than straight points without understanding forces. This is a big deal if you are trying to move a really heavy material like water. As you can see here, itong aqueduct. These are called aqueducts, no? They use this to channel water. Nandito pala. Water during the Roman era were able to move a long distance using aqueducts. This allowed the city to grow further in population and territory. Itong aqueducts na to, nakapalibot to sa Rome, ibig sabihin, yung water nila umaabot napo-provide sa buong city or sa buong empire. Now, because they are doing this, the empire is supporting its people. Now, that's why they created the aqueducts. Ito nga yun, aqueducts. Ngayon, ano mahalata ninyo sa aqueducts? Ang aqueducts, hindi binuo yung poste ng straight na poste. Binuo yung poste na naka-arc. Why? Because they found out that the using of arc is better than the using of straight posts. Diba? Even them, hindi nila alam yung konsepto ng force. Wala pa namang konsepto ng force during that time. Although meron na siguro silang thought about it, but there's no concrete evidence about force. Ngayon, ang mga engineers, kinocompute pa nila yung force bago nila i-construct. Tama? Before, they just created that without even knowing the concept of force, but still, this infrastructure, the aqueducts of Rome, still stands. Diba? Until now, if you observe, some of the bridges still uses arches. Some of the houses still uses arches. Or actually, they promote to use arches because the distribution of forces is not concentrated to one point. Wala kang breaking point sa arches. Unlike kapag, di ba, rectangular or naka-posts na ganon. So yeah. Di ba? Next is the Romans also changed their lands in many ways. They drained the marshes of their home city using sewer system, which were called cloaca maxima. which literally means big sewers. So take note of this one again. Yung tubig na ginagamit nila pang hugas, pang inom, no? Ginagamit nila, nilalagay nila doon sa aqueducts. I mean, they channel it to the entire empire gamit yung aqueducts. Ito nga. Ngayon, yung sewage systems nila, sila din yung mga unang civilization na gumamit ng malalaking sewage systems. Yung, ito nga, cloaca maxima, which are also created sa ilalim ng lupa in arches. Kasi nga, kapag square yan, madaling masira. Diba? Arches na sa taas, arcs na dito, arcs na din dito. Arc aqueduct, tsaka arc aqueduct sa taas, and then arc cloaca maxima naman sa baba. Okay? Their roads became the key to many doors for the Romans. Okay, we already discussed their cloaca maxima, their domes, their aqueducts, even some of their buildings, no? But the most known or the most practical established infrastructure of the Romans are their roads. Their builders stepped up their game and took the art of logistics to different level. Look at the map of Rome. Tingnan niyo tong mapa ng Rome sa Italy. Okay? Consider the Appian Way. This is the Appian Way. And ano lang yan, first leg pa lang yan. The first leg was created in 312 BCE. And that's called the Appian Way. The first leg was built during the 312 BCE using layers of fitted stones and gravels. It started from Rhodes southeast through the hill of Italy. It connected to several towns and cities across the regions and peninsula. The Appian Way became a road for Romans to many empires or to many cities. Ito nga, yan, Appian Way. No, ayan. Appian Way became an open door for the Roman troops to efficiently crush their enemies and then further expand it. It is one of the many well-preserved infrastructures of Rome that lasted up to date. Their roads crisscrossed along parts of Asia, Africa, and Europe. As the old saying goes, all roads leads to Rome. Ngayon, ito yung picture niyan ngayon. Ito, Appian Way. They created the Appian Way. The Appian Way was built by the Roman builders. And then, kung narinig nyo na yung kasabihang all roads leads to Rome, because ginamit ito ng mga Romans, yung paggawa nila ng kalsada, para mapalawak yung teritoryo nila at yung pananakop nila. Now, this is how it is created. Merong mga curbstones, merong drainage dito, merong stone blocks, merong layers of crushed stones and cement, slabs and stones in cement, compacted layer of sand. Hanggang ngayon, itong compacted na to na ginawa nila, buo pa rin po hanggang ngayon, itong mga to. It is very well built. Hindi natabunan, hindi tumaas. Hindi natabunan, hindi din tumaas. Yung mga gilid ng roads na yan, nag-layer na, yung road na yon hindi pa rin kasi syempre nagagamit. Kasi matibay talaga. Ngayon, paano nasabi na ito ay nagsilbing open doors sa pagpapalawak ng teritoryo ng mga ancient Rome? Kung makikita ninyo, may drainage system sa gilid, may dun madaloy na tubig. Ngayon, yan yung tinatahak ng mga soldier nila, ng mga Roman soldiers. Of course, magutom ka man, okay lang. Pero mawalan ka ng tubig kahit 3 araw, manghihina ka talaga. The water that drained along the Appian Way is drunk by the soldiers. So meron silang support. I hope you are getting it, no? Dahil nga itong Appian Way na to ay may drainage sa gilid at yung mga Roman soldiers ay nakikipaglaban sa iba't ibang panig ng mundo, sa 'di ba sabi nga it crossed Asia, Africa and Europe. Siyempre nauuhaw din 'yan. Diba? And that is well supported by the state. Unlike yung iba, namamatay na lang sa uhaw. Kaya malaking bagay po talaga ang tubig. So, it also served. And at the same time, mas napadali yung travel nila, mas napadali yung paglalakbay ng mga Roman soldiers. Imagine ang naabot ng Appian Way, Africa, Asia, and Europe. And hopefully guys, no, makapunta kayo sa Appian Way or kahit isa sa mga legs ng Appian Way. Okay? So, lesson spotlight, Milie vie de cont hominem secula Roman. This means 1,000 roads leads a man forever towards Rome. Yan din yung kasabihang all roads leads to Rome. This is by Alain de Lille, French poet. Because, tingnan nyo naman, 3 kontinente ang kinonect ng Appian Way. As you can see, they expanded their territory, that one marked with the red one. Diba? The Romans optimized their technology and used it to expand their power and territory. They developed legal systems, state supported the army, provided food for the public, massive public games to entertain the people for the state. Before we go to the entertain the people for the state, sa army, diba? They already supported the army by the Appian Way. They also built aqueducts. They also built catapults and ships. They also, that's for the army. For the public food or the public good, they created aqueducts para lahat ng tao na citizens nila ay magkaroon or magkaroon ng access sa tubig. And at the same time, nagamit din nila ito sa farming nila kasi na-extend nila yung distance na maaabot ng tubig. And ginagamit din nila ang technology nila na develop sa public games o sa panonood ng mga Roman stuffs, which I think you already know. The Colosseum or the Flavian Amphitheater. So Flavian Amphitheater or the Colosseum is one of the most known infrastructures of Rome. It had a retractable roof. Diba? It's a dome. Yung retractable roof pwedeng maalis, pwedeng ilagay. No? Imagine during their time, it's not a really easy technology na magkaroon ka ng gumaganon na dome, no? This was manned by sailors who used complicated rigging in order to move the canvas covering the viewers. Sometimes the engineers had to flood the Colosseum to allow the naval battles be viewed. Okay. Kung napapanood niyo po sa mga ancient Roman movies, yung madaming tao tapos madaming naglalaban-laban sa gitna, like tawag doon, mga Spartans or may kanya-kanya silang champions tapos maglalaban sa gitna ng Colosseum tapos madaming tao, no? That's the Flavian Amphitheater. That's the Colosseum. Wherein most people would say ganon, bubuhayin, papatayin, ganon. Diba? That's their entertainment. Although it's not good, it's not humane for other races, but the government or the state did that for themselves and for the people to watch as well. And nabanggit dito, yung mga sailors nila yung nagtatanggal ng retractable roof para magalaw yung roof. And nakalagay din dito, sometimes engineer had to flood the Colosseum to allow the naval battles be viewed. Kung minsan mapapanood nyo, nag-iiba-iba ng setting yung loob ng Colosseum. Minsan may mga blocks. And minsan, pinupuno nila yun ng tubig para magkaroon ng naval battle. Ang scene ng labanan ay dagat. Imagine, kaya ba yun ng mga engineers ngayon? Hindi, I don't know, but I think they can din naman, no? Like, isipin nyo naman, Philippine Arena, punuin ng tubig. Kaya ba ng Philippine Arena i-hold yung ganun kadaming water? But the Flavian Amphitheater during that time is capable of holding a lot of water. Yun lang. So as you can see, no, ancient builders, the ancient builders of Romans use their technology and optimize their technology very well, unlike to the technology that we have right now. They use it in army for war. They use it for the people, for the good of the people, and also they use it for the entertainment of the people, which we are also using now. Like kaya nga tayo may TV, may laptop, that's the entertainment. War, the development of guns and gunpowder, and other stuffs like refrigerator, washing machine, those stuffs that really help us today. The great builders, public works were for Romans. Before the Industrial Revolution in the 19th century, the construction of roads, sewer systems, and other infrastructure required a lot of materials and laborers. Those are slaves. Paano nga ba nagawa ng mga Romans ito? Itong matitinding infrastructures na to. Hindi lahat yan Romans ang gumawa. 1 out of 3 people in in Rome, Italy, were enslaved. Whether you be a full-blooded Roman or a Jew or a Hebrew, the Roman slave involved highly educated people like engineers and physicians. Their knowledge-based constructions were still standing today. Though they could buy their freedom to become voting citizens, many still remained as a slave. So the infrastructures that we see today, that built by the Romans, is also a product of slavery. But those slaves are also doctors and engineers. Some of them are doctors and engineers. At kung titingnan niyo yung ratio, napakalapit ng ratio. Isa sa bawat tatlong nakatira sa Rome ay nagiging slave. Marcus Vitrus Polio wrote about architectures, buildings, and urban planning and engineering. Also involved understanding of human system. He inspired Da Vinci's Vitruvian Man. Yung kay Da Vinci yung Vitruvian Man, yung nakaganon. His architecture sums up the concept about the obtained and flourishing knowledge during the Hellenistic era and the Greco-Roman world. His technical manuals were focused with the harmonies of human bodies as well as the management of the cities. Okay? There were many great builders. The engineers of the past were able to create a portal to the people today to visit the past by seeing their works. So, di ba, visiting these infrastructures of great Egypt, of great Rome, of Greeks, or even if you go to China or Japan or Korea, to Thailand, to Bangkok, Bangkok, Thailand, to Vietnam, if you are seeing this infrastructure, this also serves as a portal for you in their ancient world. This also serves as a portal for you to look at their world during that time. Nakikita mo kung gaano ka-rich o gaano katindi yung civilization during that time. The Greco-Roman architecture and engineering still stands today. It is a testament of the impact of science and technology to social, economic, and political power. So the Roman Empire or the Roman civilization is a clear depiction of the relationship of science and technology and social, economic, and political power. And they always go together. Kapag malakas ang science and technology ng isang bansa, masasabi din natin na malakas ang isang bansa. The strength of a country is not only dependent on the leaders, no? But the strength of a country or a state is also dependent on the strength of its science and technology. Lesson spotlight. The technologies that engineers make are like sciences, political, only as good or bad as the humans who use them. Anong ibig sabihin nito? Yung ginagawa nating technology, yung ginagawang technology ng mga engineers dati at ng engineers sa panahon ngayon, ay nakadepende pa rin sa kung paano gagamitin ng mga tao. Technology is a two-edged sword. It can either harm you or help you. I hope as you take this subject, as you understand the contributions of the ancient engineers to the present engineers, sana po maunawaan ninyo na ang paggamit po ng technology ay hindi po, huwag niyo pong hayaan na kontrolin kayo ng teknolohiya. Instead, use technology for the better good of the people, of yourself. So, I think that's it for the engineers, the great builders. The great builders of the ancient times are the great foundations of engineering today. They introduced several concepts such as uses of arcs, such as using understanding of hydrodynamics of water, how to transfer water, the use of understanding buoyancy as well by making ships, large ships, and many more. So engineering, it did not only start today, but engineering or architectons started even in the ancient times, way back during the times of the Egyptians, during the first civilizations. No, uh, that's the time when engineering was born. And up to date, the goal of engineering is still the same. The goal of technology is still the same. Please take note, science is episteme, technology is technique. The technology is a practical knowledge. And that's why technology is here to help us in our daily lives, in our everyday conducts. Like ngayon, the technology that I'm using to reach you guys to learn science, technology, and society. So if you have any questions or clarifications, please feel free to comment on the comment sections. I will try to answer those during the next set of the video. Again, this is Mr. Jonathan David D. De La Cruz discussing Science, Technology, and Society, Chapter 1, History of Science and Technology, Lesson 4. And that is the engineers, the builders, or the artists. Next episode or next video, I will be discussing the scientists, the last chapter, the last lesson for the chapter 1. Okay, please stay tuned for the next video. I hope you're all safe. Thank you and God be with you. Thank you and God be with you all. Thank you. God bless po.